Hello, everyone, and welcome to part two of the best 50 albums from 1968. And we have arrived at number six. I'm going to continue without further ado because I skipped this video into for technical reasons. Never mind, I'm going to continue. At number six, I was so incredibly happy when last year I finally found first UK pressing of this. It's the Rolling Stones' Beggars Banquet. This is a stunning album, and this captures the Rolling Stones at the peak of their game, of their abilities. I mean, there are beautiful country influences here, but you can also hear blues influences. Where can you hear the blues? Well, when I got a pressing with the original stampers from Howling Wolves, a rocking chair album, and I listened to the guitar on there, and then you listen to the guitar solo of Keith Richards on Sympathy for the Devil, you can hear what his influence is. Nevertheless, sometimes people may say an influence, you should always go to the basics, and I love Howlin' Wolf. But what Keith Richards is doing on the solo of Sympathy for the Devil is just beyond normal guitar skills. Not that the solo is that technically difficult, and to be quite frank, I think a lot of music enthusiasts give too much credit for technical, impressive solos. It's about the soul for me. What's the emotion there? And what Keith Richards is doing on the solo of Sympathy for the Devil, that it's the thing is, it's all about the timing and the emotion. It's as if he during the solo awakes, like he just like, oh, I gotta get there on time. And why does he want to get there on time? Because in that moment, it sounds like he's realizing he how much he feels, and then after realizing, it seems as if he's stretching it, as if he's hanging in that emotion in his fingers. And that is, to me, one of the most emotional solos because it is as if every note is the result of somebody giving everything at that moment with the accurate feeling to the guitar. And the timing is completely the result of an emotional impulse. And it sounds so good. And I've just been talking about Sympathy for the Devil now. The entire album is mesmerizing, no expectations. Dear Doctor, please help me. Parachute Woman, Jigsaw Puzzle, Street Fighting Man, another Stones classic, Prodigal Son, Stray Cat Blues, Factory Girl, a reference to Andy Warhol's Factory. Um, I'm wondering, is that song actually about Nico? Would she be considered a factory girl? I'm not sure. Soul of the Earth, also a gorgeous song. This is a masterpiece. At number six, and here at number five, perhaps an unconventional choice, but this is defining in the world of rock. It's the Pretty Things SF Sorrow. Now, why did I put this here? This is the first rock opera in the world of music. It tells a bizarre story about somebody losing his girl during a Led Zeppelin during a Zeppelin accident at one time, and it continues. It's not a very coherent story, but it is a story. And what this band, the Pretty Things, is doing musically is just mesmerizing. This doesn't sound anything like the Pretty Things before. If you've listened to their first album, it's an interesting album. Okay, good band. What they're doing here, they have transformed into progressive musicians, progressive engineers of and visionaries of what can you do with narrative and rock, and it sounds so incredibly good. This is a Mad Fish um, reissue done from the original master tapes, and it is just stunning. This album is stunning, and this was an very important inspiration for Pete Townsend and The Who for their Tommy album, another record that changed the world. Masterpiece. At number 5, Pretty Things, SF Sorrow. Number 4, While the World Was Changing. While the Rolling Stones and the Beatles went worldwide, while The Who was experimenting with concept albums and changing music altogether, they were the number 4 in the UK, and they decided we're gonna stay. The Kinks, the Kinks are the preservation, so the Village Green Preservation Society. I love this album, but it's a tough sentence to say when you're Dutch. The Kinks are the Village Green Preservation Society. God bless Donald Duck vaudeville and variety. We are the Desperate Dan Appreciation Society. God save strawberry jam and all the different varieties. Preserving the old ways from being abused. Protecting the new ways for me and for you. What more can you do? And that is their response to the globalization. They are looking at England. They are looking at the culture they grew up with. And the Kinks are embracing it. Whenever I go to the UK, it's not as if I put the Kinks on my earbuds, but there will always be a moment when I walk into a bar, hopefully an old bar, and they'll be playing the Kinks, and it feels as one of the most always feels as one of the most authentic and genuine moments, because it was unpopular and still is unpopular to be preserving or to be melancholic. I mean, all these songs are about that. Picture Book, Do You Remember Walter, Village Green, some weird songs as well, like Phenomenal Cat. People take pictures of each other, which is also so beautiful. They treasure their memories, and it makes for such a fragile, deeply felt, sincere record. So pure, pure British, but fragile British. They embrace the things which you wouldn't be proud of, not because they are of a inappropriate nature or anything like it, but because it would be dull. And the Kings made dull, unique, and authentic again. A masterpiece. The Kinks are the Village Green Preservation Society. At number 4, and it just continues with brilliance and unexpected good records. That is for me 1968. 1967 is the year of the big classics, and obviously there are classics in this list. But there's something odd out there, and I've got a gorgeous album of oddness. The Mothers of Invention with We're Only in It for the Money. Now, oh, this copy is this. I've got several copies. I didn't know which one I picked out, but I got a copy that was actually sold to me like this. Um, this is the inner sleeve, but when you reverse the inner sleeve, you get an outer sleeve just like Sergeant Pepper's, and this also just like Sergeant Pepper's because this was actually initially a spoof on Sergeant Pepper's. You know, I'm gonna use this as the still for the video because I really love this this picture. Why did it become the inner sleeve? They were afraid they wouldn't get the rights from the Beatles to make a parody, but I would say parodies fall under a different kind of law. Nevertheless, I'm not that well known with international law or American law versus British law. What I do know is there was a telephone conversation between Frank Zappa because the issue came up and he thought, you know what, I'll. This channel is known for the horrible imitations of musicians, but I'm gonna keep that up. You know, I'm just gonna call. I'll be calling Paul McCartney then. So he called Paul McCartney and he said, "Well, Paul, I want to do a parody on the Sgt. Pepper's cover. What do you think about that?" To which Paul McCartney responded, "Oh, I don't know. I think, I think, I think we should ask our lawyers, shouldn't we?" Well, why should we ask our lawyers? Well, aren't they the ones to go to talk about that? Well, aren't they the ones to talk to us about it? So they didn't work something out. Nevertheless, Paul McCartney should have given it a spin. Paul McCartney should have listened and realized I should not put lay an inch in the way of a genius making a masterpiece of a parody on the 60s culture. And that's the thing, I love 60s culture. I love it. I love all these albums that I've been talking in this and the previous video. I love them all. But when somebody does a parody and is heartfelt about his response, you can make something brilliant. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this way back into the sleeve. Might not be good for the sleeve, but it is an honest tribute to what Frank Zappa was doing here. This is the way it's gonna go back into my closet. Oh, yeah, closet. This is the right word, like. Final collection. Number 2. I'm gonna go to number 2. The Zombies Odyssey and Oracle. Wow. Wow. This is spectacular. You might know this album from the final song that was a big hit, Time of the Season. My favorite all-time summer song. And it's so groovy. It's so brilliantly put together. And the thing is, when I heard that song, I thought, Odyssey and Oracle, it's in 1001 albums, You Must Hear Before You Die. A lot of 60s fans were enthusiastic about it. And I thought, okay, but the rest of the album is never going to be as good as that song. And the answer is yes, it is. This is up the same league as a Sgt. Pepper. Perhaps even better. You know what? I'm going to leave it at that. Try and find a copy. It's tough. The first ones there are very expensive, but I believe there have been certain reissues recently. Very good reissues. Masterpiece of songwriting, of production, and just sound texture alone. These guys were up to something. It's Odyssey and Oracle. And number 2. And now for the number 1 spot. The best album from 1968. I mentioned the Beatles before, so obviously I'm gonna end it off with the Beatles, the White Album. What is more to say about the White Album? I've spent a lot of time on this channel talking about the White Album. And every time again, it feels like a challenge to find the right words to describe to you what this record is. It's much more a journey into the woods. It works much more like a fantasy film. In the typical fantasy film, a hero gets a challenge, and during a magical land through forests and fields, they come across creatures and things that you could not imagine. There's a main goal there, but not everything that happens comes out of the main goal of the hero. There's a strong element in there that you find something in the forest, surprises occur, and you will have encounters that you could not imagine before you start the journey. That's the White Album to me. There are so many gorgeous, odd songs in there, so many different genres. You can listen to early metal punk, you can listen to surf songs, you can listen to a very convincing Euro blues, you can listen to this epic orchestral good night. You can listen to experiments like Revolution, number nine. You can listen to all sorts of genres, all honky tonk elements there. Everything is going on, and the Beatles lead you through it. It's a masterpiece, and I love it. And number 1 from the best 50 albums from 1968, the Beatles' White Album. And I am curious, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.